going to be ranking every secret style in the game currently and also giving you a little mini showcase of them as well, so you can better decide who you want to play, because a lot of this is completely subjective and dependent on the position you want to play or the type of player you want to be. So I'll give my opinion and hopefully better help inform your own opinion. And since a new secret style just dropped, and I do this every time something new drops, I'm going to be giving away 20 lucky spins on my Discord, so be sure to join that. At number 5, and the newest secret in the game, is Kimiro. He is a Libero with high to max in every stat besides spike and block, and the block doesn't really matter in this game. His ability gives him a super dive that when held down causes him to pretty much clear the distance of the court with a dive. Although while you are holding this dive button, it does slow you down a lot. Now I have him at 5 because he just isn't good for the vast majority of content for this game. Being a Libero, he was never going to be crazy in 2s and 3s, and in 4s I think he's just okay. I guess you can camp around this like white line to the side and shoot across to some as soon as someone goes to spike, but while in this you are slowed and this can be sort of hard to aim sometimes. I think he's clearly the worst of the best, but if you want to play Libero and you really want to run 4v4s or publics, I guess you could go him. I just wouldn't suggest purposely spinning for him. And again, it's not really to say he's necessarily like a bad character or anything. It's just, again, he is a Libero, so he's trying to already fill sort of a niche position that's not really going to be like super meta anyways. I think even if he was a super overpowered Libero, which I already don't think he's a super overpowered Libero, I still probably wouldn't have placed him above number 5 just because of the position he plays, honestly. But he is a very, very good well-rounder with a pretty he has a built-in rolling thunder while being well-rounded. Like, he's pretty good in every stat, he just can't spike. That's literally it. At number 4, I have the Miya Twins. This is 2 characters in one, Otsuma and Atsumi or whatever. One is a setter and the other is a spiker with a high enough block to work as a stuff block, and you can freely swap between these styles during games by clicking the button at the bottom with a cooldown of like 5 to 10 seconds. He's definitionally the best well-rounder in the game and is a high-scale character to use, and I think the hate on him is a little blown out of proportion. He is effectively near max in every single category if you swap and use him right. Now this does have a cooldown and can be hard to pull off in games, but if you're better with him, he can absolutely be insane. I think he is the second best 2v2 character, and even for other modes like Force, having him on the team isn't a bad choice. He can stuff block, he can kind of backup set, he can play backcourt defense since he's insanely fast, he can serve. Like, I know he doesn't have an insane ability like timeskip Kageyama or Sanu, but he is way too overhated for being like the second best 2v2 character, and the best 2v2 character still obtainable in my opinion. At 3, I have timeskip Hinata. He is the fastest seeker or godly spiker, which is primarily where his strength comes from, but he has an insane serve, jump, and is recently buffed spiked. But even in every other category, he is just about average or above average, which is really nice. Now his ability Super Spike lets you go over the max spike power by getting a running start and filling this bar up. It fills when you run in a straight line and goes back down when you pivot or stop. It doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line, just sort of in the same direction. For me, he is for sure the best 2v2 character, and since that's the most popular mode, I wanted to mention that, because if you run 2s a lot, this style is probably your guy. But I think he suffers a bit of a drop off when you go to 3s and 4s and 6s, primarily because well-rounders, I think, become less dominant, and people who do one thing better than anyone else become better. Like, timeskip Hinata's strength is being the fastest spiker in my opinion, but when you're on a court with 3 other people, you don't really need to defend quite as much of the court anymore, just yourself, and instead need to be as good as possible at spiking instead. And that's why I have 2 ahead of this character, because I think 2 is a bit better of a just raw spiker. At 2, I have Sanu, who isn't quite as good of a well-rounder as timeskip Hinata is, but a better pure spiker, primarily due to his tilt, which lets him hit insane angles really no one else can, and his jump animation that makes it hard to tell which direction he is facing, and I'll cover that. But these are his stats, his jump being max and his spike being max, and his other stats being average to below average. His jump animation also makes up for the lack of serve as well, so his serve stat being kind of lower is actually a little deceiving, because when you add in his tilt and his jump animation being hard to read, his serve is actually much better than it lets it on to be if you just learn some of the text. But speaking of his jump animation, this is what it looks like, and it can be very hard to tell where the ball is going to go because he jumps very kind of vertically, I guess. He like turns his body completely to the side, which makes it very hard to tell which direction he's actually facing. And when you add that into with his tilt that lets you push it either right or left after you've already jumped, it just makes it very hard to defend. Now he's at 2 and not 1 because the difference between Sanu and the next best spiker is at most like a 5 to 10% difference. I think if you're running Bokuto, I mean, you're definitely worse than Sanu, but like a really good Bokuto is still going to be like a Sanu or something. Like, it's not like an insane gap between those 2 characters, like just like Like one is like 3 times as good. Like it's very close between a lot of the spikers, especially when you start getting to the secret ones like timeskip Hinata and the Miya Twins and this guy. But with the setters, there's only one guy. Part of the reason why I have timeskip Kageyama at 1. He has an amazing jump and speed, good dive, max serve, max set, and kind of just okay at everything else with a weak spike. But outside of his really good stats, his special ability is probably the best in the game. It lets you effectively like just zip a ball where you want it to go. It's also incredibly easy to use and time. Jump up, face your camera where you want it to go, tilt forward, and suddenly the ball is where it needs to be. Outside of 2s, this character completely changes how people have to play the game, and I think for publics, 3s, 4s, and 6s, a team with timeskip Kageyama is always better than a team without him, assuming that both teams' skill levels are equal. The ability to just zip the ball to people that have, and then have it flow, opens up so much for the offense. Glide sets are insane with him. Built-in zero gravity set on top of his good stats like jump and speed, for me, make this character incredible. And for me, the difference between timeskip Kageyama and every other secret is like 10x, but the difference between the best spiker or like a secret spiker and the best godly spiker is maybe like 1.5x. So for me, that's what puts timeskip Kageyama well above the others, is that there is no good second option for setters. It's him and everyone else is irrelevant. Now that's my top 5 overall, but here's my top 5 in 2s. At 1, I timeskip Hinata because like I said before, in 2s, you really just want to be a good well-rounder and a good spiker. That's kind of what you're looking for. Like the first thing you should probably be looking for is well-rounder, and then the second is probably spiker, and then everything else, to be honest. So at 1, I timeskip Hinata, and then at 2, I have the Miya Twins, because definitionally the Miya Twins are like the best well-rounder in the game. Effectively, if you're swapping effectively with the Miya Twins, you can literally do everything on the court. Like literally, you can block, play against the net kind of defense, you can like max jump and spike and all that. Super fast speed to defend the backcourt, you have an insane serve. Like you can literally do everything with this style. It's just a little harder to use as well than timeskip Hinata, and his swap does have a bit of a cooldown, although it's only like 5 to 10 seconds. And then at 3, I have Sanu, because I think he's the last spiker. And I think if like I would rather play a spiker in 2s than a setter, because say you're playing timeskip Kageyama, which I think is better than Sanu. If you're playing him in 2s, you can easily get targeted on serves. And if you get targeted on serves, you then can't set. So for that reason, I actually have timeskip Kageyama at 4, and then obviously Kimiro at 5. Because you definitely don't want to bring a libero, but that libero is a very good well-rounder, and you could just use him as a setter. And in all defense to him, he can probably like solo receive in 2s. Like if you just like stand in the middle and kind of like hold down your dive button, you could solo receive in 2s. Like there is a spot for him. I think all these characters could be used in 2s. I just think like timeskip Hinoto and the Miya Twins kind of like are definitely the best. Now my 3/4 top 5 is a little different, because when it gets to more people, like I said before, I start prioritizing being really good at one thing over being a super good well-rounder. So at 1, I had timeskip Kageyama because I think he does his thing better than anybody else does their thing. So he's at 1 for me. And at 2, I have Sanu because, again, just when we're talking about just pure spiking, I think he's the best just like pure like wing spiker. I think it's just Sanu, to be honest. Then at 3, I have Miya Twins because I mean, I really like the Miya Twins. I think being able to do everything is just so underrated in this game. And at 4, I have timeskip Hinata because timeskip Hinata's main strength is his speed, but I think that becomes so less important when you get into modes with more people, because you have to defend less of the court individually. Like you're now slowly like getting, like the court's already not that like big, so speed isn't quite that important, to be honest. Like this court doesn't feel like a regular volleyball court. It doesn't feel built for 6 people. 4 people already kind of feels clogged, and you can easily defend the court with 4 people if you space them correctly. You don't need one player to defend like half the court. So I think as you go up in the player counts, people that's main strength are their speed become maybe a touch weaker. And then at 5, I have Kimiro. Again, this is more just because he's a libero, because he's kind of a niche position, and because I think super dive wasn't the greatest ability. And that is every style ranked, in my opinion, in a pretty broad sense. And mind you, volleyball is based on position, so your best can change dependent on the position you want to play and what you want to do. But tell me what you guys think, and thanks for watching. See ya.